No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of Dynamite, AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, January 25th, 2022. Shout out to everybody watching this live or on demand. Your viewership is very much appreciated. Several people already commenting in the chat room. City by the Bay left a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, shocked if AEW draws 8,000 people in San Francisco, half of the arena. AEW struggling a bit to sell out Revolution, which is coming up now. There is still a lot of time before that pay-per-view event. Maybe AEW made the mistake of running 3 shows in the San Francisco area. It is their first time in the market, but at the same time, maybe they oversaturated things a little bit. I still think as more matches are announced, they will eventually get close to being sold out. It is a pay-per-view. AEW always delivers on the pay-per-views, and I think that they will have a nice attendance for that show. Anyways, let's get to Dynamite. We kicked it off with action. Literally, action. Andretti teaming up with Ricky Starks against Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. You had Daniel Garcia out there. Sammy went for a handshake, but ended up super kicking Andretti, who is the rookie, not knowing better, never trust these heels. Andretti managed to build up some momentum, though. He sent Guevara to the outside. He did a little bit of showboating, which is something that Sammy Guevara always does, so the shoe was on the other foot this time. Andretti hit a big dive to the outside onto Daniel Garcia, who took the bullet for Guevara, and then Guevara came over the top and hit Andretti with a dive. Crowd was chanting for Ricky Starks, so of course Ricky Starks tagged in. Him and Chris Jericho went at it for a while. Match went back and forth here for several minutes. Jericho tried to win with a roll-up using the tights, but that did not work out for him. Starks hit a sit-down powerbomb on Jericho. Jericho kicked out. Andretti came back in, went for a split-legged moonsault, but Jericho got his knees up, and then Sammy tagged back in. Jericho grabbed at Andretti, thumb to the eye. Andretti was somehow able to reverse a Hurricane Rana, hit a neck breaker, but Guevara kicked out. And then on the outside of the ring, it looked like the good guys were going to win this one. Starks hit the Rochambeau to Jericho on the outside of the ring, but back on the other side of the ring, Garcia got on the apron. He hit Andretti with the baseball bat, and then Sammy Guevara hit the go to hell to pick up the win. Match was good here. You had the outside interference. It was fine. Nice little opener to the show. We had a Jay Briscoe video package, which was very classy. Apparently, well, clearly here, Warner Brothers Discovery changed their minds about Mark Briscoe. Initially, Mark Briscoe was not even able to appear on AEW Dynamite, but a lot of people were upset about this, and I guess the network caved into the pressure, and Mark Briscoe was allowed to appear on this show, and they hyped it up. Main event, Mark Briscoe, in honor of his late brother, going up against Jay Lethal. Very cool move here to do this match, and they put it in the main event. Nice touch here as a tribute to Jay Briscoe, and we'll get to that more in just a few moments. Well done with the video package. And then we had our next match for the TNT Championship. We had Darby Allin versus Buddy Matthews, who was wearing half of his face with face paint, just like Darby Allin. You had Julia Hart providing an early distraction. By the way, Hamp Connell says, why was he not allowed? Neither Briscoe was allowed to appear on Dynamite. And this was because Warner Brothers Discovery did not like Jay Briscoe's homophobic comments that were made roughly a decade ago. Tony Khan, AEW, for several months, they were trying to get the Briscoes on AEW television. And now, after Jay Briscoe passes away, only then Warner Brother Discovery allows it to happen. Anyways, we'll talk more about that later. And Julia Hart, early distraction. Matthews was throwing Darby Allin around. Darby always bumping for the bigger guys. But Darby was able to reverse a power bomb. He sent Matthews into the barricade, and then Buddy regained control, hit a Meteora onto the apron. Darby was selling his leg. He was hobbling around, but he did manage to hit a coffin drop to the outside of the ring. And then the lights went out. When they came back on, Brody King and Malachi Black were at ringside. You had Ortiz running down, trying to help things. Sting got involved, running off Malachi Black and Brody King. Match continued. It was back to one-on-one. And Murphy hit a buckle bomb, did the curb stomp. Darby still kicked out. Both of them ended up on top. Darby hit a scorpion death drop off the top. Buddy kicked out of that. And Darby finally hit the coffin drop in the ring and got the 1-2-3 victory to retain his championship. No surprise here. Good match, though. And afterwards, Tony Schiavone spoke to Darby Allin and brought up how Darby has won 4 times in a row now. But then, before Darby could even speak, Samoa Joe popped up on the big screen and threatened to take back what is his. He's coming to take everything from Darby Allin. And they did announce that next week it will be I believe, a no-holds-barred match. Samoa Joe versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. They're loading up next week's show. More on that in just a few moments. We had another Adam Cole video package. Adam Cole still not cleared, apparently. He said he's not where he wants to be just yet, but he's continuing to work to get there. He was training in the ring. He doesn't know when the day will come, but it will happen soon. And Wardlow was not on this show again, by the way, just for those of you wondering. Maybe he shows up next week. Time will tell. We had another tag team match. Matt Hardy and Ethan Page versus JungleHOOK, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and Hook. You had Hardy and Page coming out to the old Hardy Boys music, but Ethan Page cut off the music, did not approve of it. Basically, the storyline of this match was that Ethan Page was letting his ego, he is called All Ego after all, his ego got the best of him, and he instantly tagged himself in, and he pie-faced Hook, ran to the outside of the ring. He tripped Jungle Boy from the outside. Bad guys worked over Jungle Boy for a while. Hook got a hot tag, did some of his suplexes. Jungle Boy came back in, and Matt Hardy was on the verge of perhaps winning the match. He was going for the twist of fate on Jungle Boy, but Page insisted on being tagged back in to finish things off. He got in the ring, and Jungle Boy applied the snare trap. Hook sent Hardy off the apron, so Hardy could not help out Paige, and Paige had no other choice but to tap out. Match was fine. It was entertaining. No real complaints about it. Then we had a family therapy segment with the Acclaimed, the tag team champions, and the Ass Boys. Billy Gunn was there, and he wanted to know why his boys became spoiled brats. They said Billy ditched them, and they were frustrated that Billy was never there for them. He was always on the road. The Acclaimed basically said that the Ass Boys have been jealous that Billy Gunn would even show other people just a little bit of attention. And Billy said that they took the easy way out. And he wants to know what they want, and they said it straight up. They want the tag team titles. Segment was okay. Like, I wouldn't say it was awful, but, you know, it was a comedy segment and definitely had WWE vibes to it. But I think we needed it on this show. Like, there was so much wrestling. I just like to see a little bit of comedy, or, you know, a talking segment or something with characters, you know. So for me, I did not mind it. I think it's nice to have a little bit of variety on the show. They're trying to do something with the Ass Boys here, trying to give these guys some character development and make something out of them. I don't know if it's going to work out for them. Billy Gunn can only do so much. And Brendan thinks that maybe Billy Gunn will betray the Acclaimed and go back to his brothers. Well, blood is thicker than water, after all. We had Adam Page backstage, interviewed by Renee Paquette, and Adam Page said he's been trying to look towards the future. However, he still thinks about Moxley and their history, and he wants to knock out Moxley next week in Dayton, Ohio, Moxley's home state. Wheeler Yuta then confronted Page, said that Moxley accepted the challenge, and then Wheeler asked for a match against Page this coming Friday on Rampage, which Page accepted the match for Rampage. And he's probably going to win to set up the match with Jon Moxley. I would say Wheeler Yuta winning is highly unlikely in all likelihood. But if you want to see great wrestling, then you know where to find it this Friday night on Rampage. Next week, we got Adam Page versus Jon Moxley. This will be the third match, the so-called rubber match, which is a little surprising. But again, we still have over a month away until the Revolution pay-per-view. I thought maybe they would try to save it for the pay-per-view. Next up here, we had Bryan Danielson versus Brian Cage. No relation to Christian Cage, but he has a name that rhymes with Adam Page and Ethan Page. You had Bryan Danielson targeting the knees. Smart move, you know, try to take down the bigger man, keep him grounded, that sort of thing. But Cage had a lot of rage and a lot of power. He took control. He press slammed Bryan into the corner. He suplexed Bryan from the apron back into the ring. Man is a beast, and there's talk that his AEW contract is up soon. Could we see him in WWE? Like, they never signed him before, but maybe with all of his, well, not a lot of TV time, but maybe with some of his AEW TV time, maybe they can consider it now. It's the only place he really hasn't had. Like, I think he had a developmental deal, if I recall, years ago, but never had a prominent spot or anything like that. So maybe this will finally be his big opportunity if WWE picks him up. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. Seems like a guy WWE would want, jacked, and the guy can do some cool stuff. Anyways, Danielson eventually made his comeback, and Cage still kept the power moves going, and he hit a power bomb. He went for another one, but then Bryan managed to reverse it into a pin and got the 1-2-3 victory. So it was not decisive. It wasn't a submission or anything. So they did protect Brian Cage just a little bit here. Makes you wonder if he will end up staying with AEW. So after the match, Cage continued the attack because the storyline was that MJF wanted the arm broken of Bryan Danielson. MJF did arrive. He grabbed the chair, and a chair was wrapped around Bryan's arm, and then Bryan was sent into the ring post, and then they got Bryan in the ring. They were going to finish the job and break the arm with the chair, but then you had Takeshita come down to the ring to make the save. And then backstage, after this segment, you had Bryan Danielson with one of the medical officials, and the guy said that he does not think Bryan can wrestle, but Bryan was defiant. He said that he wrestled 60 goddamn minutes with a separated shoulder, and nothing is going to stop him. And he knows MJF is afraid of losing that title, and he's coming for him. Nothing's going to stop him from getting back in the ring. 9:20. Guess what segment we had, everybody? We had the women's match. Surprise, surprise. Toni Storm versus Ruby Soho, which was pretty good match here. I just feel bad that they are almost always regulated to the same time slot every single week. So the announcers were talking about how the AEW originals have been dealing with issues from people that did not start in AEW. Sounds like they're doing AEW originals versus former WWE stars. Seems to be the direction, but they did note that Ruby Soho has been cool with the AEW original. She's the exception. A lot of aggression from Toni Storm. She sent Ruby to the outside with a hip attack, and after the break, Storm tried to win using the tights. Ruby hit the no future kick, but Storm kicked out. Ruby hit Storm with a knee to the face, and Storm was selling it. Referee was checking on her, but it was a little bit of playing possum. And Toni Storm managed to regain the upper hand, hit the hip attack again in the corner, hit a DDT, but Ruby was able to kick out of that. And then Britt Baker's music hit. Britt Baker was originally supposed to be in this match. It was supposed to be a triple threat match, but AEW said that Britt Baker was injured, not able to compete. And Britt Baker just came up on the stage, and Toni Storm was distracted. Ruby hit the destination unknown and got the victory. Stupid heel Toni Storm. But hey, better than a stupid babyface, right? We had MJF backstage talking about Takeshita, called him take a shit again, said that this guy is very talented, but it's not a smart idea to dance with the devil. MJF warned Takeshita, take a shit, to stay out of his business or there will be consequences. And then as far as Bryan goes, MJF said that Bryan has a I can't say it, has a hole in his soul and is trying to fill it. And once again, MJF warned that bad things happen to people that mess with him. Brought up how he knocked out a British guy. Forgot his name, though. What was his name again? That British guy. MJF said as far as next week's opponent goes, he has somebody picked out. He had a video package roll, and it was Timothy Thatcher, former WWE superstar, who is going to be making his AEW debut next week against Bryan Danielson. This should be a hell of a match. Again, Bryan's not losing, but yeah, these guys will have a really good match next week. Timothy Thatcher had some solid matches in NXT, and I'm looking forward to this one. And it's something different. I'm sure those guys will kill it. And now we had our main event of the evening, a special Ring of Honor match in memory of Jay Briscoe. We had Jay's brother Mark making his debut against Jay Lethal. And these two have history over the years in Ring of Honor. You had the Ring of Honor commentary team out there with Excalibur. Jay Lethal could barely keep it together. He was crying. Very good match here, as you would expect. Crowd was into it, as you would expect. Lethal hit the lethal injection, but Mark, the veteran, rolled to the outside of the ring. They fought on the outside for a while, and Jay tried to put Mark through a table, but Mark recovered too quickly. And then Mark hit a blockbuster from the apron and then placed Lethal on the table, went to the top, hit the flying elbow, put Jay Lethal through the table. Crowd loved this. They chanted, "Holy shit." They chanted, "This is awesome." And then back in the ring, Mark hit the lariat. Actually, he hit two of them and then hit the Jay Driller and got the 1-2-3 victory. The entire locker room emptied out. They put the Jay Briscoe graphic on. Really classy stuff. You had everybody hug. I agree with this super chat. Let me read this off here from D. Martin 5th. He sent in $5. Thank you for that. Says, main event very much like the Owen Hart tribute match from WCW Nitro from October of 1999. No heels or faces, just a pure wrestling match. Yeah, it very much reminded me of that. And that's what I felt it was going to be going in. And very classy, like I said. I'm not going to say anything about it being in the main event spot. I think it was the right call for this week. You know what? Who cares about what the rating is or what letter grade it is? I'm not going to do a letter grade this week. This was about paying tribute to Jay Briscoe. And, I thought that they did a fantastic job with that. And that's what it was about, So no letter grade this week for Dynamite. Next week looks to be a pretty significant show. Like I said, Timothy Thatcher debuting. They're doing Jon Moxley versus Adam Page 3. We're getting the No Holds Barred TNT title match with Darby Allin and Samoa Joe. So that's going to be a stacked show. Looking forward to that. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. Says, today in history 2004, Chris Benoit is the second man to enter the Royal Rumble at number 1 and win. 3 years later, he was on ECW. We have to keep in mind, in 2007, they thought Benoit could really be an asset for ECW. Like, some people saw it as a demotion, but I think the idea was that he would help elevate some of the younger guys that they were bringing up, CM Punk and Elijah Burke, so on and so forth, John Morrison. I think that was the idea by having Benoit be there and kind of be the star of ECW. Also, Benoit had the history with ECW too, not a very long run in ECW, but he was there. And as far as Adrian's comment goes, like, are they going to exploit Jay Briscoe? I don't think so. I think that they will probably do something at their next pay-per-view, the Super Card of Honor. And you know what? If Mark Briscoe is down for tribute shows and they want to keep doing them, then who cares? But yeah, I could definitely see them doing something. Maybe Mark Briscoe goes for the Ring of Honor World title. They could do Mark Briscoe versus Claudio for the title at the next pay-per-view. I think a lot of Ring of Honor fans would like that. So seems like a good idea there. I would definitely keep going with Mark Briscoe and give him a singles push in honor of his brother. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Very much appreciated. If you liked the video, please give it a like on YouTube, youtube.com/AaronRift, I know some of you are watching on various outlets, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. But if you can head over to YouTube, give the video a like, and consider subscribing, it would be very much appreciated. Coming up, we got predictions for the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble is coming up this Saturday. NoDQ.com will have live results coverage. Stay tuned for all that. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Look forward to seeing some of you in the chat room for the Rumble predictions. Take care, everyone. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. And I will see you all next time.